Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North Congregation, which we affectionately call UUMAN. I'm Jim Nickens, and I'm pleased to serve as your worship associate this morning. On behalf of the Reverend Dave Dunn, our music director Alex Pietsch, and our director of religious education Melinda Mischuk, I welcome you. I also want to thank the worship team that puts in countless hours to make these online services possible. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Please visit our website, UUMAN.org, to learn more about us. There's a visitor information request on the main page. Please fill that out and someone from the membership team will be in touch. We are a liberal religious community guided by 7 principles, which can be found on our website, UUMAN.org. We are striving to create a diverse and welcoming multiracial, multi-generational community where all can thrive. Our vision is to be a vital and visible community for all, bravely working toward the day when social, economic, and environmental justice is a reality. Whatever path you're on, wherever your journey is taking you, whoever you love, you are welcome here. Now, a few announcements. The membership team wants you to know that our next UU 101 Path to Membership class is being scheduled virtually in 2 parts. We will meet online Saturday, January 9th, 2021 from 10 a.m. to noon, and then again Sunday, January 17th at 11:15 after the service. If you're new to our congregation or to Unitarian Universalism, or are considering becoming a member of UUMAN, or just want a refresher on the basic tenets of our faith, this is the class for you. A sign-up is available online on our homepage, and if you have any questions, please email membership@UUMAN.org. This class is a great way to start the new year. Please check the calendar on the website and UUMAN announcements for other announcements and activities. Now, take a deep breath, settle your mind, and be present here, now.
Although it's nighttime where I am, I want to wish you a good morning. Let us be awakened to our fearlessness. Let us be staggered by beautiful possibilities. Let us be enlightened to his presence right at our feet. Let us be comforted by the love we can find there. Love that can sustain us as we journey through the night together.
My beloved people, I cannot pretend, so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now, that there is no reason to be angry, that you must be optimistic or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now our chalice is lit, and so all I ask in this moment is that we remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is a love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love.
Here's a Hindu fable from the Panchatantra. Once upon a time, there were 4 young rich men who'd lost all their fortunes. Yet they were determined to acquire wealth once again, and they set forth together on a journey to acquire wealth. And on their journey, they came upon a magician whose name was Terror Joy. When Terror Joy found out what quest these four men were on, he gave each of them a quill, like a feather. And he said to them, "Go to the north, and wherever you drop your quill, you will find your treasure." So the four young men excitedly went northward, and eventually one of them dropped his quill, and at his feet was a pile of copper. He was rich. "I will share it with you," he said to the others. The others weren't particularly interested in sharing. But the first young man, who had just inherited all this copper, he was satisfied, and he said, "I'm going home." The three others continued northward, and eventually a second young man dropped his quill, and at his feet a pile of silver. "Silver, I will share this with you," he said to the others. The two others weren't particularly interested in sharing, but the young man, the second young man who inherited the silver, says, "I'm satisfied, I'm going home." So the two remaining continued northward, and eventually one of them dropped his quill, and at his feet was a pile of gold. "Gold, I will share it with you." The fourth young man wasn't interested in sharing. But the man who had inherited the gold, the young man, said, "I'm satisfied, I'm going home." So there was one man left, and he thought to himself, well, first copper, then silver, now gold. Surely something magnificent awaits me, and I won't have to share. So he continued northward. He came upon a man. He was on a whirling platform, spinning around. And on top of his head was another whirling disc, spinning around. And it looked painful. There may have been blood coming from his forehead. The fourth young man said, I'm kind of thirsty. Do you know where I could get some water?" And as soon as he said that, the whirling disc off the man's head flew off and began spinning on our fourth and final treasure seeker's head. And the ground upon which our treasure seeker stood began spinning as well. "What's going on?" he said. "Ouch, it hurts. When will this end?" The one who had been formerly spinning and now was no longer spinning said, "There's no telling how long. It could be years and years. It could be centuries. You see, I was seeking treasure and power, just like you, when I came upon a man who was spinning as you are now. And when I came upon him, he stopped spinning, and I began spinning." Our fourth treasure seeker was puzzled and said, "Why is this happening?" The other man said, "The gods, fearing that only one with such greedy ambitions of power and wealth would ever venture this far to anoint themselves as the heir to those gifts, the gods took precautions to prevent them or anyone from doing so. The gods knew that for the good of all, such a person must be stopped. I was stopped centuries ago, and now you've been stopped too. Goodbye. I return in humility to my life."
When we share our lives together, we strengthen the bonds of this community. If you have a joy or a sorrow you wish to share, please type it into the chat window so the rest of the community can see what's on your heart. Now, it's with great sadness that we inform you that a longtime friend of UUMAN, Carrie Keisner, passed away on Saturday, January 2nd. Her passing was unexpected, so it's a shock to all of us. She was a member of UUMAN years ago, and over the past few years, she returned to us and was an active participant in many activities like the Circle of Women, Daytimers, Adult Enrichment, Coffee and Conversation, and Sunday Worship. Plans are being made for a celebration of her life. More information will be forthcoming. I'm going to drop one more pebble for those joys too dear and those sorrows still too tender to be shared today. Let's hold everybody close to our hearts. A reading from Beyond Our Limits by Barry Lopez. The 18th century British explorer James Cook used a grid of lines, latitude and longitude, that made profitable international trade possible. We can see what that has engendered. Missing from the latitude and longitude is any third dimension. It doesn't extend into the sky or go below the surface of the earth. and it has no temporal component. It is a timeless grid. The awareness of that creates the impression that we have limits when we don't. Our certainty about the accuracy of latitude and longitude as a locator can become a trap for us. If you stay in this place out of fear, you will not find the landscape that your imagination is yearning for. If somebody says to you that the proposals I'm suggesting are not possible, it's because they're trapped within those boundaries. The creative effort of the imagination is to turn the boundary into a horizon. Then it's possible to say, let's go there and there and there, because there's no endpoint for you.
What is going to happen to us? Worldwide, over 86 million people have been infected by the coronavirus. That's as many people as who live in 32 of our United States. Worldwide, 1.8 million people have died. That's as many as people who live in the states of Wyoming, Vermont, and Alaska combined. In the United States, over 21 million people have been infected. That's as many people as who live in 16 of our states. And over 363,000 people have died. That's as if 3 out of every 4 people living in the city of Atlanta had died to the coronavirus. Worldwide, a child dies of hunger every 10 seconds. 3.1 million children annually. It represents 45% of all children who have died. They die of hunger. Worldwide, there are approximately 74 million people who suffer from food insecurity, and 90% of those suffer due to conflicts amongst people, war. Environmentally, the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere is now well over 350 parts per million. 350, a number considered high, but reducible, maybe the upper limit. Well, we've exceeded that. We're above 415 parts per million today. The U.S. prison population has skyrocketed since 1980 to 1.4 million people, as many people as who live in the entire state of Hawaii, incarcerated. If you're an African American male in the United States, you have a 1 in 3 chance of being incarcerated in your lifetime. And then there are the events of this week, scenes that we never thought we would ever see. Not in the United States. Several senators, congressmen, congresswomen, opposing election results that the courts have thrown out objections to time and time again, over 70 times. Senators, congressmen, congresswomen defying the will of the people. Politicians more willing to kneel down at the crossroads and sell their soul to the devil in an all self-serving effort to anoint themselves as the next populist, Make America Great Again Messiah. Again, what is going to happen to us? In his 2019 book, Horizon, author Barry Lopez writes, "In which national parliaments and legislatures today can we find deliberations characterized by humility? In which congresses might questions of ethical irresponsibility be successfully raised for discussion? In which Western nations does a determination to address the mental, spiritual, and physical state of children override indifference towards their fate? Or are these questions now thought to be anachronistic, questions no longer relevant to our situation? Most anyone today can imagine the biblical horsemen of the apocalypse deployed on the horizon." Barry Lopez. What is it going to take? Rising sea levels that will engulf New York, Boston, Miami, Los Angeles? The incarceration of us all after incarcerating all people of color? The death of family members in a pandemic? A failed coup? What is it going to take?
Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you know the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive.
What will it take to face those self-anointed messiahs, the frightening horsemen of the apocalypse deployed on the horizon? What will it take? I must see that it could be me. You must see that it could be you. We must see that it could be us, an Indian in a white poncho, lying dead by the side of the road, journeying through the night with plans and the simple breath that keeps him alive. We must see that it could be us. And in an interdependent and interconnected world, we must see that he is us. Ultimately, I believe that that's what it will take. Barry Lopez continues, most anyone today can imagine the biblical horsemen of the apocalypse deployed on the horizon. Anyone, too, facing this frightening horizon might opt to turn away and decide to remain walled off from the world and electronic distraction, or select catatonic isolation within the fortress of the self. But one can choose as well to step into the treacherous void between oneself and the confounding world, and to there be staggered by the breadth, the intricacy, the possibilities of that world, accepting its requirements for death, but working still to lessen the degree of cruelty and to increase the reach of justice in every quarter. Barry Lopez. Yes, despite the statistics, the self-anointed messiahs, what we saw at our nation's capital this week, despite the frightening horsemen of the apocalypse deployed on the horizon, I have faith in humanity. And it's not a naive myth. It's based on science. Yale sociologist and physician Nicholas Christakis, author of the book Blueprint, The Evolutionary Origins of a Good Society, he believes that in the long moral arc of the universe, we are genetically predisposed to create good and healthy societies, and that helps ensure our survival as a species. He writes, "My vision of us as human beings holds that we are and should be united by our common humanity. And this commonality originates in our shared evolution. It's written in our genes. Precisely for this reason, I believe that we can achieve a mutual understanding of ourselves. Natural selection has shaped our lives as social animals, guiding the evolution of a social suite of features, priming our capacity for love, friendship, and cooperation." Nicholas Christakis. Evolutionary psychologist David Pinker, in his book, The Better Angels of Our Natures, believes that due to technological advances in human history, most importantly, advances in publishing and written materials, that has increased the literacy of humanity and a better educated humanity, again, over the long arc of the moral universe. An educated humanity leads to a less violent, more peaceful world. I'll be diving deeper into some of these ideas in an upcoming sermon, maybe later this month or early in February. But a diverse humanity has genetically evolved over the course of history. I see that diversity as the weaving of a single human thread into a cloth and a fabric. I see that diversity as a necessary ingredient for our future survival as a species. I see that diversity as a necessary ingredient for our future survival as a country. I see that diversity as a necessary ingredient for our future survival as a society. And I see that diversity as a necessary ingredient for our future survival as a congregation. Why should it be for one, yet not the other? Those who stormed the Capitol this week think the opposite. Diversity is a threat to the species, to them. Diversity is a threat to the country. Diversity is a threat to the society. The bottom line is that they fear diversity, that they're going to be replaced by diversity. Fear of being marginalized by what has been marginalized. They talk of freedom, but little do they know that they can't be free until they free themselves from their fear. They will not find the landscape they're looking for. How can we heal? I don't think it's through direct dialogue and communication. I don't know. Maybe it's more likely through loving kindness, compassion, sharing a meal. I'm not sure. Yet it will likely require thinking about the landscape more imaginatively than in terms of simple latitude and longitude, more expansively than a grid, a spreadsheet, a flowchart, checking the boxes. Healing would require the kind of imaginative thinking that could turn a boundary into a horizon. I have faith that we can step into that treacherous void between oneself and the confounding world, and to be there staggered by the breadth, the intricacy, the possibilities of that world, accepting its requirement for death, but working still to lessen the degree of cruelty and to increase the reach of justice in every quarter. Yes, these are the very things that people like Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King Jr. knew all too well. It was the thread, the fabric, the cloth of their very lives.
Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or friend.
In an effort to fulfill and further the vision and mission of the congregation, we ask that our members and friends bring forth and share their many and varied gifts. With this, we will now take the offering using the Givelify app. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us, together, in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen, and blessed be.
Barry Lopez writes, as you grow, you will see a way to help. And I hope that when you do, you choose that path, no matter how hard it is. Go in peace, enjoy your week, and know that you are loved.